Okay, so now we've covered the various ways of presenting the different types of requirements and diagrams and models. Let's talk for a few minutes about how to handle various parts of the walkthrough process. I have some tips for asking and answering questions, and then some very serious advice about handling criticism effectively. First, asking questions. And when I say that, this is you asking questions of your audience. This is something that you usually have to do because people often come to requirements walkthroughs expecting a lecture. But we, as savvy business analysts, know that lectures suck. That's the technical term. We want this to be a dialogue, right? A dialogue between you and your team and your stakeholders. The biggest tip is to look for opportunities to ask questions of your audience, keep them engaged. But also, check back with them frequently as you go through the presentation. Ask them questions like, hey, does that sound right to you? Does this make sense? Have I captured this correctly? These questions will help to remind people to chime in and contribute to your getting the information you need from them.
But asking questions is fairly easy. You'll be spending a lot more time answering questions in your requirements walkthroughs. And some of these questions will be easy, like, hey, what does this step in the process mean? Or what does this requirement mean? Those questions are easy to just give a simple answer to. But then there are the more challenging questions that often come up. They often start with, wait a second. Stakeholders might ask, why you took a particular approach, or why you excluded something, or why there is a certain, a favorite requirement of theirs has a low priority, that kind of thing. These are a little difficult to handle sometimes when you're getting started, and even beyond that. But they get easier as you progress in your career. Okay, so here's my 4-step process for answering different difficult questions. Let's say one of your stakeholders asks you, in front of everyone, eek, wait a second, do you think the users will actually like this? Oh boy. Well, you can't just say, yeah, I think so. No, that's not quite good enough. You have to give them a good, straight answer. Straight answers help your audience to have faith in you and your abilities. And that's important because you're the one solving all their problems and spending their money. So my first response to this question is, yeah, I do. I do, yes. Some kind of combination of that. But then you have to move on to the second part. You have to give a brief reason for why you think that. Not a 10-point argument for why you think what you do, but the main reason why you answered as you did. So I would say, I do, yes. We came up with 5 possible solutions, then narrowed them down to this one, which seems the easiest to use. That in itself is a fine answer to a difficult question. You can stop there. But sometimes, and this is just your own judgment call, you'll have to give a caveat. By all means, please keep your caveat short. No more than a sentence. My caveat in this case might be, well, yeah, we came up with 5 possible solutions, then narrowed them down to this one, which seems the easiest to use, but we'll only know for sure after usability testing. Okay, so that's enough. Too lengthy of a caveat means that you're effectively arguing against your own opinion, and that sends a bad and wrong message to your audience. Finally, and this is somewhat of an art, and I'm not even putting it on the screen, if you feel like the stakeholder was holding something back, not fully speaking their mind, you might pursue this. When they were asking the question, geez, do you think the users will really like this? It seems like there's something behind their question, right? So you might just ask them about it. You might just say, hey, but let me ask you, do you see a problem with the solution? If so, we'd love to definitely get it on the table now so we can address it. And that question back to them opens the door to a productive dialogue around the stakeholder's concern, if there is one. And that is pretty much how you can answer questions. So give it a shot, see what works for you, and continually hone your ability to both ask and answer questions. Oh, the last item I'll talk about in the presentation process is really important, if only for your own mental health, and that is handling criticism effectively. There is so much, stuff written about this topic on the web that it feels kind of redundant to talk about. But, most people don't really get to the core of the matter, so let's be real and address it.
You are going to be criticized. You are going to be criticized. I'm sorry, but that's the way it is. People will criticize your work. They will second guess your decisions. They will even say mean things about you sometimes. This is not unique to business analysis. It's just a part of the workplace. You know what else? You will be offended. Yes, you will be offended. Why? Because it's natural. When you have so much invested, you've put in so much time and thought and energy, when you've carefully considered the needs of your stakeholders and come up with 18 different ways of solving their problems, they're going to turn around and criticize you. Yeah, well, get used to it. Get used to it. Expect it. Okay, that's the bad news. Okay, here's the good news. Actually, there are two pieces of good news. First, criticism, in whatever form, is a blessing to you. You need this criticism as you learn business analysis because it points out what areas you need to improve. And criticism also motivates you to actually do the improvement. The other good news, and no, it's not that it gets easier with time, it really doesn't. The other good news is that with practice, it's possible to separate the emotion from the criticism. Only you, the person getting criticized, only you have the power to make the critique constructive. Focus on maintaining your attitude. That is all important. Take the criticism at face value and keep on striving to do a better and better job.